Okay, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to today's webinar, The 5-Year Dilemma, ISA versus Shared Cost AVC. My name is Barry Richards. I'm one of the retirement education specialists here at AVC Wise. A bit about my background is I work directly for the Prudential, specialising in all things AVCs. A few things to cover off before we get started. The content of the webinar is provided for educational purposes, does not constitute financial advice. Information given is based on our current understanding of taxation, legislation and regulations. Any levels and bases of and release from taxation are subject to change. Tax treatments based on individual circumstances may be subject to change in the future. Fund values can fall as well as rise. Past performance shouldn't be used as a guide to future performance. So, what are we covering off today then? So firstly, we're going to look at the benefits that you have by saving into an ISA. We're then going to come on to the benefits of saving into a shared cost AVC. We're then going to look at an example which is really going to highlight the key differences with somebody who has the same affordability but maybe goes down different roads for where they want to invest their money. And then finally, we're going to come on to any next steps you may need to take going forward, whether that's getting your AVC up and running or tailoring the amount in that you're currently paying. So first of all, then let's talk a bit around ISAs. So an ISA is a savings vehicle or investment account that protects your money from interest or dividends tax and also capital gains tax on profit made. Now, the good news is that when you withdraw your money from an ISA, there'll be no income tax or capital gains tax to pay. However, depending on the terms of your account, there could be a penalty for early withdrawal. So we always say to make sure you pay close attention to the small print. Now, there are two main ISA types, which would be a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA. Now, a cash ISA will typically bring in a rate of interest, and a stocks and shares ISA carries a risk that you might not get your original investment back. But as with all investing, they can offer higher returns than a cash ISA over time if you take a longer term view. And each tax year, there's a limit of £20,000 that you can pay into an ISA. So now then, let's talk about this unique employee benefit that you all have available with what's called a local government shared cost AVC. So you would pay into your AVC directly from your salary, and that money goes into your AVC pot, which is an extra pot of money that sits alongside your main local government pension. Now, you've got complete flexibility to vary those contributions, so you can increase or decrease as often as you like, with a minimum contribution being just £2 per month. And unlike the ISA, there's no £20,000 annual limit of what you're allowed to put in. And the idea is to build this pot of money as to a larger amount as possible. And then simply this is going to increase your wealth in retirement, as you're now going to have more money waiting for you when you retire. Now, also, it can help bring down the age in which you want to retire. And what ties into both of these, really importantly, is you've got the ability to take it all back in its entirety as a tax-free lump sum at the point of retirement. And even more importantly, you can do this without taking a penny off your main local government pension. Now, this is really important, and it's a completely unique benefit to members of the local government. So members of the teachers scheme, NHS scheme, they're always limited to being allowed 25% of an AVC back as tax-free cash. Local government, you're in that really unique position that when you take your AVC together with your local government pension, whatever age that's going to be, and there are always upper limits based on the value of your pension, but you can potentially take that full AVC pot back all as a tax-free lump sum. So let's have a look then at how an AVC actually works and what makes this such a tax efficient way of saving money. Now, what's different and unique about the AVC arrangement that your employer is able to provide you is any savings that you make are not only going to benefit from tax relief, but you're also going to be making savings on national insurance contributions too. So you're actually getting a double tax break instantly every month as you pay into your AVC. You've then got complete flexibility, as mentioned, to amend those contributions as often as you need to. And that's really important if you did need some extra disposable income. So you could drop it right down if you're in a position where you might have more income required, or vice versa. You could possibly put in larger amounts if you've maybe got money sat somewhere not doing much for you and you want to indirectly get that big uplift on your money. So let's have a look then at what it would actually cost you from your salary to pay an amount into a shared cost AVC. So we'll have a look at an example here. Now, as a basic rate taxpayer, you're paying tax at 20% and national insurance at 12%. So if you wanted to save £250 a month into a shared cost AVC, it's only going to cost you £175.10 from your take-home pay. So again, if we're looking at savings vehicles and making your money work, the day that you hand over £175, it instantly turns into £250. Now, that actually equates to an uplift of 42.77%. So again, if we're talking about comparing this to an ISA or any kind of savings vehicle, you'd need an immediate interest rate of 42.77% to match that uplift that you gain via that big double tax break that you get each month. So to recap then, the ISA protects your savings from future tax liabilities, and in most scenarios, that ISA is instantly accessible. And as mentioned, there could be penalties for accessing it early. The Shared Cost AVC also protects your savings from future tax liabilities, and really importantly, your savings will be boosted via those tax and national insurance savings. Now, the minimum age you can access your AVC is minimum retirement age, which is currently age 55. And within the local government, you've got this unique ability that we mentioned that when you take your AVC at the same time as your main scheme pension, within limits, you've got that ability to take your whole AVC back again as a tax-free lump sum. So to really bring these key differences to life, we just want to introduce you to Jordan and Joe. So we're going to use an example here where we've got two people in the exact same position where they earn the exact same amount and are looking to pay the exact same amount of money into a savings vehicle for the next 5 years. So we've got Jordan who decides to go with an ISA, and we've got Joe who decides to go with a shared cost AVC. Now, both are on a salary of £30,000 a year, so are both basic rate taxpayers. So Jordan pays £250 into his ISA over 5 years. So his total investment is £15,000. And assuming he gets a growth rate of 3%, after those 5 years, his ISA is worth £16,185. Now, Joe pays £250 a month, so the exact same amount, into a shared cost AVC. And again, after those 5 years, his investment is £15,000. And again, if we assume a 3% growth rate, that AVC is worth £16,185. However, due to the tax and national insurance relief that Joe gets on his AVC contribution, that £250 that has gone into his AVC each month has only been costing him £175 each month. So over those 5 years, the cost from Joe's pocket has actually only been £10,506. So here we can see then, when that £250 goes into that shared cost AVC, from his take-home pay, the net cost has only been £175. So again, just to be clear, when Joe hands over £175 from his take-home pay, because of that double tax break, the remaining amount is now funded by the government, and so £250 is what physically goes into his AVC. So the day he hands over that £175, he gets £250 going into his AVC, which, as we mentioned, is over a 42% return instantly, thanks to that big double tax break. So when Jordan's putting £250 into his ISA each month over those 5 years, well, he's not only getting no double tax break, where the government makes up a proportion of this for him, but when he hands over that £250, he has to pay both tax and national insurance on his earnings. So Joe actually earns £357, and then when all of his tax and all of his national insurance is taken off, he's then left with £250 in his bank account, which he then puts over into the ISA. So again, to clarify this point, when we look at our pay slips and we see that big chunk of deductions in tax and national insurance, for Jordan to get that £250 in his bank account, he actually has to earn £357. Now, after he's earned that money and all of those tax and national insurance contributions come off, so £170 goes to the taxman, he's then left with that £250. So it's effectively cost him £357 of earnings to put £250 into his ISA. So we've established then for Jordan to put £250 into his ISA, the actual cost to him is £357 a month, as he's had to hand over all that tax and national insurance before that net figure of £250 lands in his bank account each month, which he then puts into his ISA. So over those 5 years, Joe has had to earn, or the cost to him was £21,420, and his ISA, with that 3% growth, is now £16,185. His brother Joe, who was doing a shared cost AVC, well, instead of losing money to the taxman each month as he earns it, he's actually given that tax relief from the government. So it has the opposite effect. So when £250 was going into his shared cost AVC, because of that huge double tax break at source, it meant it was only costing him £175 a month. And that's where these savings then really do start to stack up. So instead of that money being taken in the form of tax and national insurance, it's actually given to Joe as he's doing a local government shared cost AVC. So when Joe gains that double tax break over those full 5 years, it means he has the same amount in his savings pot of £16,185. But for Joe to put that into his AVC, it's only cost him £10,506. So let's look at the cost to get that pot of just over £16,000. For Jordan, the true cost, as it were, and what he's had to earn, £21,000. For Joe, you're looking at just over £10,500, both to get that pot value of just over £16,000. So again, when we talk about making your money work for you and being as tax efficient as you can, for Joe to get a shared cost AVC pot of £16,185, it has cost him £10,506. So there's a massive gain there in just that 5 year period. For Jordan, who's doing the ISA, well, he might have got the same 3% growth as Joe's been getting, but he's had to hand over all of that tax and national insurance on his earnings before he was then able to put it into his ISA. So the cost to Joe was just over £21,000 to get that ISA of just over £16,000, which is technically a loss. So each trying to make their money work and handing the same amount over each month, we can see there's an absolutely huge difference here. Making that salary sacrifice is so much more cost effective than any savings that you get available on the high street. So every day that goes past then where you haven't yet set up your shared cost AVC, you're missing out on that huge 42% uplift or so as a basic rate taxpayer. And remember, you're in that unique position where you can potentially take that entire amount back again, completely tax free at the point of retirement. So this really is about being as tax efficient as you can be and really making your money work for you. And this is where people can use this savings vehicle to take control when looking at things like being able to retire earlier or with more money. So it really does form a fundamental part of your local government benefits package, and it's fully approved not only by HM Revenue and Customs, but also the local government too, who have put it into their regulations to allow you that ability to potentially take this all back as a tax-free lump sum at the point of retirement. Now, I know some of the figures we've had a look at today, you might be thinking, it might not, can it be this straightforward to get this huge double tax break each month from the taxman and then get it all back tax free at the point of retirement? Again, for a lot of people, this is that light bulb moment to really have a look at this stuff, be proactive, and start being really tax efficient with your money. So for anyone who hasn't yet set up your shared cost AVC, it's a very straightforward process. You just head to the AVC Wise website, click on the new application button, pop in your details and select the fund or funds that you want to invest in. Now, within that application process, you'll have the opportunity to download the fund guide. This will give you details about all your available fund choices, where you can read through this and come to a decision as to where you'd like to invest your AVC contributions. And you might even see in that guide that your employer has already chosen a default fund for you. And you'll see on the application where it asks you to select your fund choice, that will already be filled in for you with your default fund if you have one. And remember, you can always change your fund choice at any point as well. So if you do initially set this up with a default fund or whatever fund you like the look of, you're not locked into those details. You can change them at any point. Once that's submitted, then it goes off to your payroll. They'll do their checks, and then it would be available, take effect from your next available pay run. And you'll then be sent a welcome pack from your provider. So for the majority of you, that would be the Prudential or Standard Life, and they'll send you statements going forward showing you what you've put in there and how it's doing. If you're somebody already paying into a shared cost AVC and you need to amend the amount, again, very straightforward. You log into your AVC Wise account, just click on Manage My Shared Cost AVC and simply enter the new amount you wish to pay going forward. Now, you do also have the opportunity of booking a one-to-one meeting with us. That might be with myself or one of my colleagues here at AVC Wise. Now, on these meetings, we can help calculate the maximum amount you can have in your AVC and take it all as tax-free cash. We can look at maximum amounts you're allowed to pay in and just make sure you're making the most of this opportunity that's available to you. As you can see, a bit of homework we'd ask in advance of those meetings is if you could get a local government projection to your desired retirement age, an up-to-date valuation of your AVC pot if you have AVCs already in place, and also an up-to-date payslip. And as you can see at the bottom of that slide there, we're not providing any financial advice or investment advice on those meetings, but we can give you factual information and a bit of guidance to help you get up and running if you do need some additional support. So you can see at the top there, if you did need an individual meeting, you can just contact us via avcwise.co.uk/meeting. You'll also see directly underneath that we do have a live chat facility on our website. So if you just have a quick question you need answered, you can make use of that facility there. Or if you prefer the more traditional method, you can always just pick up the phone and give us a call. So if I bring this webinar to a close, if I can, what I'd say is, be as tax efficient as you can be. Okay, but there's a calculator on that AVC website, and that will allow you to play around with any figures you're thinking of paying into an AVC if you're new to this. So all it will ask you to do is input your salary, your tax code, and an amount you're thinking of paying. It'll show you then the net cost to you in your own situation versus what actually will be going into your AVC each month because of that big double tax break. So what I'd say is, whatever it is you can afford to do, make sure you do something to take advantage of that huge tax break that you have available to you with this. You're in this really unique position. Nobody else can do this in terms of getting this big tax saving on a monthly basis and then potentially get all of this tax free at the point of retirement. So I hope this morning has helped to highlight what a great opportunity that you have here, and that you do go on to take full advantage of this scheme that's available to you all. So finally, many thanks again for your attendance, everyone, and have a great remainder of the day. Thanks a lot. Bye now.